Morning, afternoon, or evening. It looks like you are opting to watch a video that comes in more than one part, probably because it was lengthy and we like to keep them kind of short so people don't have to sit too long. So this could be a two-parter, three-parter, or four-parter. I don't know which one you're looking at, but just wanted to let you know if you are on, say, part one and it has a part two, that part originally will come out on a date separate than part one. So just keep a lookout for the same title name where it says part two, part three, or part four, and you should find your way accordingly. I hope you enjoy and I hope it helps clear up some sort of concept that someone was asking about. I'll see you later. Bye-bye now. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. There was a request by somebody if I could do some sort of video explanation on filling out the function report, the SSA 3373, for someone who is a mental health disability claim. Another thing I would focus on is attention and distractibility. A lot of times, and this would apply to depression and anxiety, both, we tend to be thinking about other things instead of like the mundane, boring stuff we're supposed to do for our daily chores or, or what would be in the work setting. So it might be where you are not able to keep concentration for any length of time, certainly not 2 hours. How if you're doing something simple, you literally, trying to think of an example, maybe you find yourself daydreaming, you stopped stuffing the envelopes, or you stopped doing those few dishes, or you're in front of the TV, but you literally, your mind starts thinking about other things and you don't even know what you just watched. If you read something, you don't know what you just read. If you can't get through a brief set of directions without getting distracted with other things that you're thinking about. Because oftentimes when we're depressed, seriously depressed, or with anxiety, our mind is constantly thinking of other things. And it seems, at least in my caseloads for the last 20 or so years, very often anxiety brings about depression and or depression brings about anxiety. I'm not sure how it works. I'm not a mental health professional. I just am constantly swimming in the pool of it because it's so prevalent. And I have, of course, access to all the records. So just the way our minds are thinking about other things, it could be the thing that stops us from going to sleep at night. Seeing thoughts, ruminating, and that could limit the ability, if you describe it right, to do even unskilled work without being prompted by a supervisor. And remember, everything we're talking about now, if you're putting it here, you better have been telling your therapist about it for however long you've had the person. Hopefully it's a couple years at least. If not, hop to it now. And any kind of primary care provider and or any psychiatrist who's prescribing. These things should be in there. Those symptoms that interfere with your quality of life. Because what interferes with your quality of life can also interfere with your ability to function as a responsible adult, either in the workplace or getting your adult responsibilities done at home. It can also affect, so just again, what affects you if they do? These are just some ideas. Let's say your depression and or anxiety makes you really, really insecure. You feel like everyone's talking about you, possibly making fun behind your back or rolling their eyes and they don't like you because you're maybe seem boring or whatever. If you are often thinking, what is that person thinking about me? That's very distracting too. But it also, and consider whether it is so. Does it prevent you from asking for assistance? Like, let's say you're in a store or out and about in your community since you're not working right now. Or when you're working, up until recently or whatever, did it really prevent you from, like when you needed help on the job, from asking for it because you were just afraid of the consequences, whether it was from a supervisor? Maybe you think you'd be asking too many questions because you can't retain what you're supposed to do because you're so distracted. If you had a hesitancy of magnitude, afraid to ask for assistance or clarifications or to approach a coworker or a supervisor, that could be really important. Likewise, again, and sometimes depression and anxiety have other mental impairments by a different label, and everything overlaps. So someone with high anxiety, and let's say it's even PTSD, sometimes I got plenty of clients like this. They have difficulty curbing or maybe filtering their choice of words and reactions when they see something awry at work, or because they're not working, maybe now would be talking about awry when they're trying to get things done in the community, like do their banking or get to the grocery store or waiting in the waiting room for the doctor's office. And they might have a greater tendency to get in altercations, whether it's just rolling their eyes at people and then people being uncomfortable, or it's something more significant like kind of an outburst. It can be a lack of control of impulsivity, making someone impulsive and they thought about it more, but they don't have the capacity to decide to think about it more before they act. And that is how that mental health impairment provides symptoms that can be really limiting. Because if you're supposed to interact with a supervisor up to a third of a day, and if you're in one of these, maybe you have waxing and wanings of these symptoms, but if it happens with frequency like that or regularly, and you might be a little unreliable in terms of your reactions when your supervisor approaches you about something, that could be significant. I would include something like that if that's true. If you are, this would be the depression and anxiety again, if you are prone to, and I have clients like this that will break out into heart-wrenching tears when they think about their issues, perhaps when someone is constructively criticizing them on the job and they are crying a lot. Crying on the job is very distracting to others. Not only does it stop you from doing your work for that time, so you're off task, mostly, not always, but probably mostly, it is distracting to everybody else. Nobody else knows how to deal with it. Someone might have to break away from their job task to come and see if you're okay. If you're loud, obviously that would be a little invasive of their ability to focus. So those activities of yours that are really distracting to others. And it could also be if you're working with the public, but I'm not honing on that because there are by and large jobs that they attribute for someone who says, I can't work well, you could do this, even given all your impairments and the symptoms. They say there are jobs without working with the public and without dealing with coworkers. There's never a job where you don't have to at least occasionally deal with a supervisor. So let's assume for the moment, and you have to assume it too, that you are showing that you cannot deal with the public, you cannot deal with coworkers reliably, have appropriate interactions with them. Those are all the things, the poor attendance, the inability to stay on task at work without someone nudging you back again. So excess supervision would be required. Excess supervision is considered not tolerable generally to employers. There are some jobs that allow for, there's more supervision than others, but we're talking about excess. Okay, so that is stuff that I would put in 5. In 6, let's move down to number 6. This is the top of the second page. If you look at it, it says page 4 of 10, but that's only because they have instructional disclaimer pages in the front of the standard SSA 3373. And this, of course, is the February 2024 version. That part is over. If you're looking for the following part, if there is one, or a preceding part to the same video that was longer, just look under the channel for the same title video. They are named the same, and they just have part 1, part 2, part 3, or whatever part it is. So feel free to take a look-see and complete the video. Take care.